I guess could you describe to me, I guess, the biggest issues you're facing?
So the issues that we have, it's increased through the years because the bears are learning where there's food. Also, our neighborhood is now almost fully built out. And so what's happening is we're having bears just come through every day and go through the trash. We're a highly rented community, so a lot of times the trash cans are not closed all the way, so the bears know exactly. It's almost crazy that they know to come on Friday night because checkout is Saturday. I'm not kidding you, that's when they're there the most. But they're literally walking down the street at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock in the morning. And so, and they're big. There's 2 of them primarily. They seem to be harmless, but we don't. That's why you're here to talk to us about it.
Well, in general, bears are not aggressive. They're just like any wild animal. You do want to treat them with respect and keeps your space. A lot of people believe like bears should not be in suburban areas. The truth of the matter is, here in Florida, they are. They're like raccoons or possums. The bear population is increasing, which is great. Because back in the 1970s we only had about 200 bears. Now we have estimated 4,000 bears, so it's a great success story. But with our wildlife coming back and the human population also increasing dramatically since the 1970s, there's going to be more and more human-bear interactions. So our goal at FWC is to make sure those interactions are either neutral or positive as opposed to negative. And negative does include, getting into trash or people being frightened of the bears. So just because there's a bear in the area does not necessarily mean you need to be scared. Like a lot of people are like, there's bears in my neighborhood, I'm scared to go outside. We don't want people to be scared, but we do want them to be aware of bear safety. And that will keep people, safe from the bears and prevent, negative interactions or people getting hurt. And I also like to say that people getting hurt by bears in Florida is very, very rare. Like you have a lot higher chance of getting hurt in your car when you go driving during the day. So I'd say the biggest thing to keep bears out is securing trash. And it has to be a community effort, because if half the people are doing it and half are not, it's better than nothing, but the bears are probably still going to come in for the 50% of people that aren't properly securing their trash. It's not just trash. There's other attractants that bring bears in, such as bird feeders, feeding pets outside. A lot of people like to feed feral cats, but that can bring in bears as well. If people aren't properly cleaning their grills, that's another big thing. So the big thing is securing trash and also securing attractants. I'm not telling people not to grill, but if you do grill, you want to really thoroughly clean the grill. People don't like to hear it, but we recommend taking in bird feeders. Because at first we were telling people take them in at night, because that's when the bears forage, but then as the bears get more and more comfortable, they'll come during the day as well. So those are the things that I'd like to address. Again, there's no easy solution, but if there's a community effort of securing the garbage, and I can come up with ways to do that with you guys. For example, I don't know if the residences in your community have garages, but the best way to secure the trash, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, is to keep it in the garage till the morning of pickup. And I've heard it all. It smells, I don't have space, but it really is the best way, and it's kind of just like, what's the priority? Having a smelly garage or having bears getting your trash every night? If that really isn't an option and people won't do it, the next best solution is making the trash cans bear resistant by putting locks on them, but doing it properly. A lot of people think they're doing it right, and it's not done right. For example, bungee cords and straps and things like that, bears can get through those easily. People think putting a cinder block on top will do it. It won't. The bear just knocks it over. So I can, again, go through what we recommend. Keep in mind, the solutions I provide are not bear-proof. Bears can still defeat them. They're bear-resistant, meaning it usually works, but sometimes bears can still defeat it if it's a determined bear.
Is there a bear repellent spray that you could put in or around the trash can?
Nothing that FWC recommends. I've heard, you know, the public, like some of our stakeholders, which are just members of the public, say, I put bleach or ammonia in my trash cans and the bears don't mess with it. I'm not gonna say that doesn't work, but all I know is we don't recommend that because we have not found that to be a viable solution.
So what would you suggest to secure a trash can?
I would recommend, like I said, if you want my honest opinion, put it in the garage.
So we
until
don't
the
have
morning.
garages.
Oh, you don't have it. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said
half the houses don't.
if some people have garages,
Not all
I
homes
would.
have garages.
Oh,
Not
sorry.
all the homes have garages.
Right.
My home does not have a garage.
We got
Okay.
that.
Right.
Yep.
If those who do have garages, I would highly recommend keeping the trash, garbage in the garage till the morning of pickup. For those that don't have garages, there's these retrofit kits, which are basically a hasp that you put on the cans and you put a clip on them. We recommend putting 4 around the trash cans because if you put 1 or 2, the bear can still get its claws in and pry it open. But 4 we found really makes it difficult for the bear to defeat it.
Is that resisted by waste management as far as those clips, and are they loose clips so that they just pop off? I'm saying waste management doesn't like to work with this very well.
Really?
So if you have loose clips, they're going to throw them and be lost really fast.
So each waste management company is a little bit different, and unfortunately, it's not like there's one for my whole area. There's several, but in general, waste management understands that a lot of communities in this area have bear issues. When I've talked to most waste management companies, they say as long as you undo the clips before you put the trash can out, it's going to be fine. They don't mind if you put the clips on as long as they're unclipped. And the thing is, the clips are designed where they're not going to, I mean, you could lose them, but if you take the clip off and like put it in your pocket, let the trash get emptied, and then when you go to collect it, put the clip back on. It's not going to nothing's going to happen to it.
Okay, so, okay.
And the
Gotcha.
hasps are, you use nuts and bolts to screw them on, so they're not going anywhere. And on the FWC website, there's a whole instructions on how to do them. I honestly wish I brought, in my truck I have a whole instruction manual or page about these hasps. I can run and get it if that would be
Can
helpful.
we direct people, is that information out on the FWC website?
It is. It's on the bear section.
So
black
maybe
bear
we could
section.
just put,
Yeah.
direct people out there
Can we put a link on the,
Yeah. on the Facebook page or something?
Yeah.
Sure.
we can do that.
And if you have trouble finding it, I can. I believe I have your email.
Yeah, you do.
I can email you
Yep.
the link to the webpage.
So,
what about,
What is that link? What is that webpage?
I don't have it memorized, but the general one is www.myfwc.com/bear. I think it's either bear or bears. Or actually, I can tell you exactly. It's on this. Yeah, this is it. It's bear singular.
Wonderful. Pamphlets are always
And
handy.
I can hand
Yeah,
this out
yeah.
to people. too.
myfwc.com/bear.
Okay.
I can probably scan this and.
oh yeah, that'd be great. That'd
Um,
be great.
But the hasps are a little bit. So this picture right here shows you what they look like, but then I have a whole like manual of how to do it, which is not. It doesn't get this detailed in here, but again, I can send you that link.
what about, and so it sounds to me like we just need to do the best we can to manage the trash cans and keep them closed and classed as best we can, and then try to coordinate and figure out how to work with waste management to pick up the trash cans up. I mean, sounds to me at the end of the day, it's really on us to do trash can management, if you will, so that we can keep the bears from getting access. That also means keeping the people from let trash build up on the side of the cans or on the side of the street. It's all about, it seems, of what I'm hearing, it's all about the trash side of it, the grill side of it, bird feeder side of it. So the bird feeder, I thought I was gonna get in my backyard, that's out. You know, I mean, I don't need the headaches, you know, and one of the things I was, about grilling, I was saying, well, it used to be, and when I lived in my other house, I would throw something on the grill and let slow cook overnight, so the next day, well, obviously, we can't do that here, because that's gonna draw so that's out. So it really comes down to the individual property owner or homeowner managing their property as far as keeping their grills clean. Bird feeder situations are maybe daily, but maybe just don't do them, which is, kind of frustrating. And managing your trash cans and your trash. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. My question is beyond that, so I get that part. Let's talk about the scary part. Family comes in, they're renting the house for the week. You come out the front, the kids come out the front yard, here comes this big old 400-pound bear, or maybe, I don't know how many pounds away, come walking down the street. What can they do to make sure or have a comfort level to run the bear off? Obviously, avoidance is the easiest thing, but let's say they're halfway between their house and the pool, and they don't know what to do. How do we advise families, owners, on what to do when they actually encounter the bear? Do we carry around one of those blowhorns and scares them? Do we yell at them? What do we do?
So scaring a bear is called hazing a bear. So you definitely recommend hazing the bear, because hazing the bear basically makes the bear uncomfortable in the environment where it's being hazed. So the idea is it will want to spend less and less time in that environment. Some bears have been hazed so much, they've been yelled at so much, heard pots and pans, that they're not really fazed by it. So in that case, you kind of have to up the hazing and make it more aggressive. So for a bear that isn't used to being hazed or that's more skittish, just yelling at it, banging pots and pans, blowing the horn of the car, setting off your car alarm is usually enough to scare it. I do get reports of people who say, I tried that and the bear doesn't care. It's not necessarily it's an aggressive bear, it's just more comfortable around people and realizes there was really no repercussion for getting yelled at. So in that case, air horns are really good because it's a lot louder than just banging pots and pans or even blowing the horn to your car. So keeping an air horn like near the front door or in your car.
And you can buy small ones and keep them in your pocket.
Exactly. You can get them for like, I believe $11 or something like that at Walmart. So they're really easy to get. Again, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but we recommend paintball guns. Those work really well because that adds an added sting to it because you're actually hitting them with something physical. Definitely stay away from the face and do not paintball cubs. But an adult bear, we recommend the side or the rump of the bear. And again, it's not like, usually you don't need to get to that level, but if a bear just really isn't responding to other things, that works really well.
Yeah, and I was thinking about a typical scenario, right? I mean, from the stuff that I've kind of been reading that's happening when anybody calls about a bear situation, it seems like it's always, they came out of their house, that group was getting ready to walk down to the pool, boom, there's a bear. Obviously, anybody would freak out because, maybe you could say, don't worry about it, just let it walk by. Nobody's going to do that, right? Any rational person's going, oh my God, let's get our butts back in the house, or let's do something to push the bear away, i.e. the little horns or whatever, because I think that's as much of a problem in the neighborhood as the trash deal is, because we know what's drawing the bears to us, and we can try to identify and fix that.
Yes.
To some degree. I think bears are going to do what bears want to do.
I mean, even if you do everything right, I'm not going to say you'll never see another bear again.
Sure.
But you won't, the idea is we'll cut down on that nightly foraging. And like you said, where the bear knows to go on Friday night, because he knows that's when all the renters put out the trash. Bears are smart. I'm actually not surprised at all if he's figured that out. Bears do know what day trash pickup is. And if everyone puts out the night before, I've heard neighborhoods say we do not have bears except for Wednesday night because trash pickup is Thursday, so the bear knows to time it. Bears are smart, they know these things, and they figure it out quickly. So the other thing is to be vigilant about it, because if people are slipping up and not doing it consistently, the bears figure things out really quickly. And in terms of, again, scaring the bears and making sure people feel, not scared to go outside, just reminding people, you know, to respect the bear's space and things. And if you do scare a bear, a lot of people, or haze the bear, a lot of people expect the bear just to run immediately. Unfortunately, bears that have grown up around people, like a lot of these bears probably were raised here by their moms as cubs. They're used to people, they've seen people. So like if you're hiking in Alaska in the middle of the wilderness and you see a bear, it's gonna run from you because it's not used to people. The ones around here are not like that. They're still wild animals, but when you scare them, they might look at you for a moment and you keep blowing, keep yelling, keep honking your horn, and 5 minutes later they lumber off because it got so annoying. FWC considers that a successful haze. So we kind of have to also alter our mindset where if the bear doesn't run immediately when you start yelling and it takes a few minutes or you need to be more aggressive about it and the bear eventually moves on because of that, that still is a successful haze.
What if somebody doesn't have all of those things in their pocket and they're just on the street? Do they run? Do they?
Okay.
That's my concern.
That's a great question. You definitely never want to run from a bear because that could trigger its instinct to chase. Even if it doesn't care about you at all, it's like a dog. It sees something run, it's suddenly interested in it and wants to chase after it. So what you do want to do if you don't have any hazing tools and you're just there and see a bear and it's, you know, just sniffing around or getting into trash, you basically just want to make yourself big. So we recommend putting your hands up. And kids can do this too, people of any age. And you say, "Hey bear!" So it knows you're there. And I know this sounds silly, people roll their eyes, but you want to let the bear know you're there because it might not know. You don't want to surprise it. And you want to make yourself big. And then you want to back away slowly to a place such as your vehicle or inside your house.
I wouldn't have thought of
I
that.
have a,
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's my brain management world, so I always go to worst case scenario. But if a bear does become
What about
aggressive,
those of us with small dogs?
Well, I will get to you in just a second. Let me let Christina finish answering her question.
that
We'll
was
get back to
actually,
you.
I mean, that was really close to what
Okay.
I was going to say. If a bear does cause a problem or injures someone or an animal, a pet, what? I mean, does anyone step in or is it still just wild? And I mean, what is the
So
process?
Are you saying, will they remove the bear?
Yeah, but I mean, if it does
If there is,
cause a,
if there is an
if
incident?
there is an incident of an aggressive bear.
So every incident is different and we have to assess it, but if we do believe a bear is a human safety concern, and FWC makes that assessment based on our policies, we will intervene. I'll be completely honest, we don't always remove bears if it attacks a pet, because that's not necessarily a human safety. I mean, it is a human safety concern. It really just depends on the scenario. But if we do feel that the bear is posing a human safety risk, we will intervene, and we have removed bears because of that in the past.
Do bears get agitated when a dog barks at them? Animal?
They can, yes. So I will say this: dogs and bears definitely do not mix. The other night on the Fort Walton local news,
Yeah, I saw that.
there was a video of a dog chasing a bear, and my heart stopped. And they made it very light. They're like, "Oh, look, Bagel the Beagle is chasing this dog. How funny!" That actually is a pretty serious situation because that all ended well. The dog successfully chased the bear. I would never recommend anyone let their dog out when there's a bear in the neighborhood, knowing that there's a bear there, because the dog owners and the dog were very lucky that bear didn't turn on the dog, because I mean it doesn't know what the dog is, and a lot of times the bear does it not in an aggressive way, but it feels it's defending itself. So it's not like it sees the dog as a little snack and wants to eat it. It's more the dog comes running up to it, the bear gets scared, or the bear might have cubs and the people don't even see the cubs, and the bear swipes at the dog, and that's when bad things happen. So in that case, luckily the dog was okay, the bear was okay, but that was not a good situation. And so if you do know that there's a bear in the area, I would definitely keep your dog inside. And I don't mean like, oh, I know that the bears come through here occasionally, I can't let my dog outside. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you've seen the bear, like within the hour. I would keep your dog inside, or if you do need to let your dog outside, walk it on a leash. If you do know bears frequent your backyard, like you see them on a regular basis around your yard, I would check the backyard before you let your dog out, particularly at night. Because a lot of people just open their back door at night, not realizing there's a bear in the backyard, and then they start hearing like squealing or barking. So really just checking your backyard, if you know bears frequent it, takes 30 seconds. Open the door, and from your doorway just look, shine a flashlight, just make sure there's not a bear there, because that 30 seconds, could prevent a tragedy with your dog. I will say this, a lot of people think that if a bear hurts a dog, it's going to escalate to children or people. Bears don't really work like that. It's not like they escalate into, now I'm going to go after a child or start going after people. The reason bears and dogs don't mix is you can explain to a child, like, if you see a bear, don't just run right towards it. And I feel like, obviously, a toddler, you want to supervise them anyway. I would not let my 4-year-old out by his or herself. But like an 8-year-old, you can explain to them, like if you're riding your bikes and see a bear, what to do. You can't explain that to a dog. So usually when dogs get hurt by bears, it's, I'm not saying this is the dog's fault at all, but you can't explain this to a dog. It just runs right over to the bear and is like right up on the bear, and then that's when that things
Did you mention bear spray? Did you talk about that?
I have not.
Before we go there, can the lady
the
on
caller,
the,
Did she have additional questions?
yeah,
about
did
dog?
you have an additional question about the dogs, ma'am?
No, I actually encountered the bear the last time I was down with my dog. My dog barked, and before they got too far, one of the bears ran off. I'm at 190 Gulfview, from where the split happens with the pool, and then when we were walking back, we encountered the bigger bear, and he was at the garbage cans for the pool, and so we need to make sure, and that was a Saturday night, they put it out Saturday for Monday, so we also need to make sure we're securing the garbage from the pool, because that's where the bears were going the one time I encountered them.
Okay, thank you. So we can address.
But I ran. I know I'm not supposed to, but I ran. I mean, the house was like right around the corner. I grabbed the dog, picked her up, and I ran.
So
It's hard to fight your instincts.
Yeah.
what if you're walking the dog on a leash and it just
600
comes
now.
up?
It was huge. It was as tall as I'm tall. And I'm
Well, now you
5'4".
know to just stand there and wave at them.
Well, you do want to take that opportunity to back away.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
I
create
get it.
space. It's just that instant running is what we're trying to.
Does bear spray work?
Yes, it does. It's actually more effective than a firearm, but it's to be used like if a bear is coming at you, like charging you.
Right.
If you see a bear like 30 feet away, like getting into the garbage, spraying it's not really going to do anything. It's more if for close range bear encounters.
But it wouldn't be a bad thing to carry with you.
not at
if you're
all,
walking
no.
the
If you're
dog.
walking a dog.
Yes,
Or do
I
that.
mean it's definitely a great tool. As I said, it's more effective at stopping a charging bear than a firearm. I will say this: I would familiarize yourself with how to use it, because while it will never cause any permanent damage, there have been instances of people accidentally spraying themselves or another person in the heat of the moment, and yeah, it's not going to cause permanent damage, but it will feel very uncomfortable for a long time if you accidentally spray yourself or another person. Yeah.
I was gonna ask about that's perfect.
But
So
yeah,
there
it's
are
great.
things as individuals living or renting in the neighborhood that we can do to make ourselves feel a little bit safer about coming out of the house with the kids going down towards the pool. Should we have an encounter, they're having bear spray in case they charge is a plus. Having a horn that you can hit the button on that may just make the bear go, oh God, here we go again, and turn around and walk away. And throwing your hands up, walk away. So all these things sound very good. As a board and as a neighborhood, do we need to get on some sort of I know we can send everybody to a website, how many people are gonna go? Or do we just put a list of a half a dozen things of, hey, everybody who lives on vacations or whatnot, even sending it to any management companies we know, and saying, hey, we just wanna let y'all know bears are gonna be here regardless. And these are the things that we recommend that you advise either your tenants or as owners. And this is based off of a meeting we had recently with the wildlife folks.
And lastly, whoever you take a walk with, make sure you can run faster than them. So Russ, let's walk together, buddy.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I know who's going to run faster.
What?
I have
What
a
did I say?
question.
Was that insensitive?
What do you guys think about putting signs around the neighborhood? I know that we're not big on signs, but I think, every week we have different guests. And so trying to communicate this to every single guest every single week, should we have some signs that have some,
Do
have
you
other
have
communities
signs
have those?
prepped?
Yes, there was actually a community in Crestview. It was an HOA there that was having bear issues because there were a few people that were not, that were putting their trash out the night before, and there was a few people that seemed like they were causing issues for the whole neighborhood. So one of the HOA board members asked me to actually make signs for them, and we put it up in key places like the entrance to the HOA and places that people frequented to remind them. And it was a non-threatening sign. It said something along the lines of, it had a picture of a bear and said, bears in area, remember to secure garbage. And then we wrote something like, it's the law. And we added that because apparently these people had been warned about it multiple times, and they didn't seem to care.
Yeah.
So it was more just reminding them, it technically is a law in Florida that you're not allowed to feed bears either intentionally, but also unintentionally. And unintentionally is you've been told about how to properly secure your garbage, and you're choosing not to, and the attitude I don't care if bears are getting in my garbage, and it's creating a problem for my neighbors. So it's never like we're going after people that are trying to do the right thing or don't know. It's more like people who are knowingly creating a nuisance and been told multiple times and they just don't care. That's when we try to remind them, it's the law and you actually can get saved for this.
I think signs are good in the neighborhood, and then there is a house on Gulfview Way that our committee looked at. They have a sign on their trash corral, and it has a picture of a bear, and it kind of has a quick little description on what to do with the trash. I think that would be helpful to have that on every corral as well.
I like
So
the idea.
we can look into that as well.
I will mention this. I know I mentioned the hasps, and those work really well. There are actual bear-resistant trash cans that are made, and I believe the company that makes them is called Kodiak. They're great. They've been tested on grizzly bears at a sanctuary in Montana, and basically if the bear can't get into it within 24 hours, it's approved. The drawbacks about them are they're expensive, and the company only sells them with a minimum of 25. So a lot of people ask, how do I get one? And it's a lot of individual people asking, and I'm like, you have to buy 25 to get them. But for a community such as yours, you might be interested in ordering a large number. I will say this, they are expensive. I forget the exact price, but I want to say they're maybe $250 each, which is expensive, but if you think about it as an investment, it could be an option. I'm not saying to get them, I'm just saying it might be a viable option for your community if you need to order a large quantity anyway.
Looking into, I think it's worth looking into personally.
And the company is Kodiak, and
Okay, Kodiak.
they are great. Yeah.
Okay.
David, if Fish and Wildlife has professionally made signs that are consistent with other neighborhoods, we'd sure like to take a look at those and maybe post them at our trailheads and conspicuously around the neighborhood.
Yeah, I could definitely send you what we made for people in the past, and if you're interested, I could talk to my supervisor about printing some out for you guys. We printed them out for other communities, so I don't see why it would be a problem, but I just need to check with my supervisor, and we could work with you guys on the wording, see if you're happy with it.
Yeah, we can work on that. Just send an email to me, and
Yeah,
I can get that to the board.
Great.
Sounds like we just need to be proactive,
Yeah.
and do the best we can to get in front of it and inform people as best we know how or can. And,
I think that's a good idea, making everyone aware by seeing these signs, because I went to California and there's rattlesnake signs everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm paying attention.
A
you
lot
know.
of people I talk to at the pool, and they don't know about the bears at all, so
Exactly.
I think, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
I like the
just,
idea of
it's-
something professionally done to put on the corrals.
I'll send you guys a picture of it,
Yeah.
and we'll see who owns that house. We were doing some research in our committee meeting, and I think it was Missy was the one that told me that it was, no, it was Karen that told me it was there, but anyway.
Marty has a sign.
I think it might be Marty's house, actually.
Okay.
I need to drive by it and see.
Yeah, he's got a sign, and I can't remember, but
Yeah.
it's bear related.
I think it's in front, so.
but I think sending it, maybe compiling a list of half a dozen items to be aware of, and putting it in the newsletter or whatnot,
Yep.
and getting it out.
For sure.
Again, I think the management companies that manage these rentals should be aware of that. Surely they manage more than one house in one community, and they must be aware, because this bear problem's not local to us.
Right,
This bear problem's, I think, countywide,
yeah,
at least Suffolk countywide, anywhere there's.
sure.
You mean like
there are-
bears in general?
Yeah.
It's the entire, honestly, well, not the entire state of Florida, but bears are found in 50% of Florida, and that 50% has bear issues.
Yeah.
And like to give you an idea, around here, in my area, I get calls from Valparaiso, Crestview, Navarre, Gulf Breeze, Mariester, Defuniak Springs, Freeport. So my only point is, you guys are not the only community facing bear issues.
Yeah, I used to live right in the middle, or say in the middle, in Fort Walton Beach, basically in town, and we saw bears and cubs. I mean, literally, it was a 500 house neighborhood, so they're gonna be anywhere they wanna be. It's up to them. They're looking for the food.
Unfortunately, people think like just relocate them, but the thing is that's an impossibility. Even if we occasionally relocate ones that are safety concerns, but the thing is, even if we relocate one, that takes care of that particular bear, but there's going to be more bears. Unfortunately, it's just they're here.
And apparently bears like the beach as well.
Yes, they do. They run water. Thank you, David, for coming
Thank you so
all the
much,
way here.
David.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
and-
Thanks.
Anybody on the
David,
phone? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is John Jacoby. I think I might be the only property manager that attended. I had a question for David. That population number that you stated as far as 4,000 bears, is that for the entire state of Florida, or is that for the Panhandle area?
That's for the entire state. The West Panhandle, the last time we checked, we got an estimated number of 120 bears. I'll be honest, this was back in 2017, so it's probably gone up since then. But in 2017 is at 120, and that area included Escambia County, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton.
What's our coverage?
My
area
next
for-
question is-
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I have several questions.
No, go
My
ahead.
next question my next question is for David. Has there been any neighborhoods that you've implemented these, or that have successfully implemented these preventions with the trash and seen a significant decrease in bear activity?
Yes, there have. Like I said, there's still going to be bears that occasionally wander through the neighborhood, but our goal is they don't rely on the trash in the neighborhood as a food source. They use natural food sources such as the forested areas nearby, which is what we want. So an example of that is we have these communities are called bear-wise communities, which means that they are working with FWC in an effort to protect the neighborhood as well as the bears, and for lack of a better words, I guess have a good relationship with their neighborhood bears. And they're called bear-wise communities, and there's a certain number of guidelines that the community has to follow to become bear-wise, but honestly it's not that difficult. But we only have 5 bear-wise communities in the entire state of Florida, so it's kind of hard to get people on board with it. But my only point in bringing it up is like Hurlburt Field, for example, the military base near Fort Walton Beach, they're bear-wise, and they've gotten very serious about working with their residents to keep the bears out of the trash. And while there's still bears on Hurlburt Field, I get very few calls about bear problems there. And the big thing is, I think it's because they're vigilant about securing their trash and working with the community there. So we have seen signs of decreased bear activity in correlation with securing attractants.
So really, the gist of it is it comes down to trash.
It is trash
A food source.
and other attractants like bird feeders or feeding pets outside.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, it's okay. So I do have several. I'm sorry, I've got a couple more questions. So I am an active, avid outdoorsman, and I guess my next question is, Point Washington State Forest is obviously a limited, surrounded area of acreage and habitat for these black bears. I've lived here my entire life, and I've seen a significant, just actually in the past handful of years, a significant increase in bear activity. Locally, I actually saw one run across Highway 98 in Santa Rosa Beach from the north side to the south side in the middle of the day. I've never seen that before. So is there a point in time to where their habitat is locally is overpopulated and it's kind of gotten to a point of a spillover? I mean, I understand, obviously the trash is an attractant and it's a food source and a major available food source with all the tourists that we have here, and residents as well. Is there a point in time where the population number has to be addressed from a conservation standpoint?
I mean, there is a carrying capacity for any population, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure what that carrying capacity is for Florida. I do know, and this is a rough estimate, that they estimate before Florida was settled, like we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there was a bear population of 11,000 here in Florida. Now is estimated at 4,000, but obviously you need to take into account that there's a lot more people here and a lot more development than back before the pre-Columbian era. So naturally the state can hold probably about 11,000 black bears, and we're well below that, but as I said, the population's a lot higher. So I'll be honest, I don't think I'm really the one to speak about the carrying capacity for the bears in Florida, because that's probably more like a research team question, and we have a whole bear research team that does more like the research with bears, whereas I do more like the management of bears, like bear-people conflicts. So there definitely is a carrying capacity, but whether where we are with that, I'm not entirely sure. I will say this, even if we took measures to bring down the population, like a lot of people ask, like, why isn't there a hunt? And it's not off the table, there's talks of a hunt, whether there will be one or not, I can't say. But even if we do open bear hunting in Florida, that's not going to stop bear conflict. You still need to secure your garbage, because hunting and other things like that control the population. In terms of bear management and bear conflict, that's an individual bear situation, and even if there is things like hunting, it's not going to take place like for example, in Navarre or Fort Walton Beach, which has bears. So there's always going to be bear conflict, and we always need to do our best to manage that conflict.
So no bear hunting in my backyard.
I guess what I'm saying is that there's only a limited amount of resources, food for these animals, and they're obviously apex predators. There's nobody but humans and maybe an occasional alligator that might get lucky and catch one, a cub. But anyway, is that cause for concern? Why they're also? I mean, I know they're attracted to trash naturally because it smells good, and we cook hot dogs and burgers, and that's probably more tasty than berries and everything else they forage for naturally. But is there a point in time where that resource, their natural resources, can't support the population? I guess and I know that may be a question for like you said, for somebody else, but
I think that's
contributing.
I think that's getting way too deep into the weeds, to be honest with you. I think, again, keep in mind, our purpose here today was to really just bring David in to help educate us and give us a certain amount of knowledge to help mitigate the situations we're having in our neighborhood, and obviously other neighborhoods should be aware of this as well. And beyond that, and trying to dissect what a bear does, how to handle bear and food source and all these other things. Those are great questions. I just honestly don't think that's for us today, John. Trying to keep this thing moving, if you would. Any other specific relative to how we help our neighbors and owners?
Well, from the property.
Yeah, this is John Walling.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, John Walling.
This is John Walling. Earlier in the discussion, David had mentioned barbecue grills being a problem. David, keeping cutting on the grill, is that a deterrent to the bears? And should we as a group suggest that to everyone in the neighborhood?
You broke up there for a moment. I didn't hear the full question.
Okay, I'll go over it again. Are barbecue grill covers adjustable to the bears? And if they are, should we suggest them to everyone in the neighborhood?
The covers aren't a deterrent. Bears can easily get through the covers. What the best thing to do is thoroughly clean the grills after every use. So again, I'm not telling you not to use your grills. I love grilling, and I would never say don't use them. But the best thing to do is actually not the covers. It would be to actually clean the grills and make sure you clean off all those drippings underneath.
Okay.
As an owner who rents, that's not an easy thing to control with our guests. So this could be one of those 6 things that we suggest to the management firms, that they add that to their cleanup and make sure that it's done as a requirement in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm not telling you that. All I'll say is that sounds like it would probably be a helpful possible solution.
No, I agree. I think that's a good, as part of your cleanup service, they check and clean the grill.
And we can include that in any documents that we send out regarding this information.
So, any other questions? For...
I think keeping the management firms involved in this is important, especially for people like me who rent, and helping to secure the neighborhood for people that live there full time. I'm all in favor of that.
And I think we all agree with that. We need to dial it back into, we're here today for a very specific purpose within our neighborhood. And I would really rather hope that management agencies and out there are thinking about this as well. If they're not, they need to start figuring out how to do that. But it's not our job as a board and as a neighborhood to go in that direction. What we are here to do is to try to inform our owners and for them to inform their agencies or renters that we have a bear community in the Panhandle, and to be aware of it and what to do if they encounter it and what they can do to help prevent it. So that I think today is the gist of what we're trying to do and not get deeper into the weeds. So any other questions relative to what I just spoke about? So because we have a rest of the agenda to move on to. Okay, if I don't have any more questions.
This is Rachel Jones at 33 Emerald Beach Way, and I just want to say, in terms of, this is something that I take seriously, and no one wants to spend money needlessly, but I will say for my residents, if I needed to buy the Kodiak Bear trash cans, I will just say for myself, I would be willing to do that. I think that, my experience is better to spend the money on something that we know is effective, take care of the problem, rather than spending a lot of time and money on, not that we don't need time, but wasting a lot of money that doesn't really help. So just my 2 cents for my home. Just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Okay, appreciate that. Anything else from anyone on the calling list? Okay, if not, anybody else on the board have any questions for David?
No, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, great presentation. I think it really enlightened us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to state, this is my job, so I'm more than happy to work with you guys. So, you know, if you want me to come back and give another presentation to the whole community, or you just have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Okay, great. Thank you, David.
Thank
We
you
really
so much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.